So we've been trending towards this, D, but Dabo Swinney and Clemson have taken their first non-QB portal transfer in the Dabo Swinney era. Tristan Smith. So this is one that's kind of off the board in a sense, as Tristan Smith, a transfer wide receiver from Southeast Missouri State, comes over to the Tigers. This is a guy who's originally from LaGrange, Georgia. I believe that's where Reuben Foster's originally from. So got some dogs out of that area in Georgia. But 6'5", 205, 76 receptions, 934 yards, and 6 touchdowns last season. And I'm going to pull up some clips here that are already making the rounds. You talked about it a couple days ago when we spoke about Will Helt, Purdue edge, who was going to be visiting Clemson. And you said, look, with Dabo, a lot of this is finding the right sort of character guys to bring to the locker room. And right here, this is a play where Tristan Smith's teammate fumbled, and you see him there, number one, tracking him down. You see the length on this strip right here. Boom. I mean, you see some of the traits that he's working with. Again, 6'5", 205 listed at, was very productive this season. Huge step up in competition. But this is what you're looking for. If you're Dabo saw this right here and he didn't need to see anything else. As I'm going to pull up some of his other actual clips, catching the football. There's some dancing in there as well. But this is a very telling clip for me here, D.
Yeah, and I love the approach. I'm not saying I love the approach for Dabo of not going to the portal at all, but the idea that you're going to preserve your culture even as you go in the portal, that's so important to me, is getting guys it's hard to know these guys, right? Because you're learning about them quickly. It's not like recruiting where you learn about them over time. But when you feel very good based on the reports, the due diligence, what you see on film, that some guy's going to add to your room from a character standpoint, from a culture standpoint, from an effort standpoint, the way they practice, the way they perform, it makes you feel much better about putting them in the room. Even if it doesn't work out football-wise, you're not going to drag their team down by bringing in an outsider with a bad attitude. So that play to me is very telling. I'm sure Dabo did a ton of research on this player. You look at the need at receiver for Clemson. You had Noble Johnson transferring a backup receiver, Troy Stiletto, who we know from down here in South Florida. He's gone. So the Clemson only has 8 scholarship receivers on the roster for 2025. They usually like to be closer to 10. So the fact that they brought somebody in here to just make those numbers make sense, not a big surprise. Obviously a huge opportunity for Tristan Smith. I'm sure he jumped at it. Position of strength in terms of the top end for Clemson: Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, all coming back, all super talented young receivers. I think Clemson could be a preseason top 5 team, certainly with what they're bringing back on offense. But they needed depth, and there's a player who can help fill that depth need while also keeping the culture of the program. The football-wise, you see some length, you see some good energy, you see the ability to make some contested catches. It's going to be a tough battle to crack the rotation of the guys I mentioned who are premier players, 5-star type players who are already have experience and are rising players in the ACC. But you need depth. That's the name of the game. You can't just get by with your top guys. You need depth. And in this era of 105 scholarships, it makes a lot of sense to bring in a player like this in.
And this is a guy who, coming out of high school, again at LaGrange in Georgia, didn't have any offers, went straight to Hutchinson Community College at a junior college level. Now he was listed as 6'5", 189. So was it a weight thing? Was it an academics thing? Was it, maybe he wasn't there as a football player yet, but obviously he's come a long way as he had a very productive year. But you can't teach that length at that position, man. You can, in the red zone, it could be a real threat.
Yeah. And again, I think sticking with the culture, sticking with the program, we need some depth here. We'll get him in. We trust him. He's building the team, meaning Dabo, the way he wants to build it. The top guys are going to be guys he recruited in high school. This is going to be someone who's not going to disrupt the apple cart. If he produces, unbelievable. He's got a chip on his shoulder coming from the level he's coming from. It just makes sense with what Clemson is trying to build. And look, they had one of the best offenses in the country doing it their way. They won the ACC. If I'm Dabo, I'm not saying I need to change everything I do. I'm feeling pretty good about the way I do things. But with high school recruiting slipping a little bit for Clemson, you do need to supplement with the portal. Plus, you're losing guys. So just sheer numbers. If you're losing guys to the portal, you have to add in the portal as well, or else you're not going to have enough players to practice the way you want to practice. So that's part of this too.